The year drags across the calendar like a wounded animal, 1944. War bleeds across the globe, a sickness that has finally sent its fever deep into Montana's heartland. Here, nestled under skies too vast for the troubles they hold, the Yellowstone Dutton Ranch faces its own kind of war. It's not fought in trenches, but in strained silences around the dinner table, in the worried lines etched on faces, in the thinning herds and the ghosts of ranch hands gone overseas. The air itself feels different, brittle, charged with an unspoken dread that clings heavier than the coming winter snow. John Dutton, no longer the boy searching for his footing in the shadow of 1923, is now the reluctant anchor. Responsibility rests heavy on his shoulders, a weight placed there not by choice, but by the slow fading of his uncle Jacob, whose formidable presence still haunts the ranch, but whose grip on power is loosened by time and weariness. The world John knew, the one built on Jacob's iron will and the unforgiving rules of the land, is crumbling. The war demands men, resources, sacrifice. Ration books replace ledgers as the measure of wealth, and the rumble of distant battles echoes in the strained local economy. But a more insidious threat looms, cloaked by the global chaos. Men arrive not on horseback, but in automobiles, their city shoes kicking up dust they don't understand. They carry briefcases, not branding irons, and their smiles don't reach eyes that assess the land purely for its monetary value. They don't speak of partnership, but of purchase, of legal maneuvers designed to dispossess the Duttons quietly, efficiently. No shots are fired, yet the attack has begun, orchestrated in distant offices, sealed with handshakes in rooms thick with cigar smoke. The Duttons, entrenched in their daily fight for survival, remain largely unaware of the scope of this financial siege. John feels the pressure mounting, a primal instinct warning him of unseen dangers. He stands on his land, the earth that shaped him, and for the first time questions the relentless cost of holding on to it. Is this legacy worth the slow erosion of his family, the hollowing out of his own spirit? He feels trapped between Jacob's unyielding past and a future that demands adaptation, a change that feels like a betrayal of everything he's ever known. Adding to the volatile mix is Evelyn Dutton, John's cousin, her sharp intellect and ambition, a stark contrast to John's weary traditionalism. She sees the wolves circling, but unlike John, she doesn't believe in waiting for them to attack. She advocates for meeting the threat with modern tactics, with strategy, perhaps even with a ruthlessness that makes John uneasy. Her pragmatism clashes with his sense of duty, creating friction that crackles beneath the surface of family interactions. By the end of these opening movements, the ranch physically remains intact, the cattle graze, the family shares meals, but the foundation is compromised. An invisible rot has set in, felt in the strained pauses, the averted gazes, the growing distance between kin. The quiet isn't peace. It's the deep breath before the plunge. The storm isn't coming. It has already arrived, disguised as silence. As the days wear on, under the strain of 1944, the battle for the Yellowstone shifts from the fields to the heart of the home. The enemy isn't just the changing world or the calculated avarice of outsiders. It's the doubt creeping into the spaces between family members. The war fought with ink and contracts finds allies within the gates, exploiting fissures that have existed for generations. John Dutton tries to project strength, the stoic leader his family needs, but inwardly, he's fraying. Every decision feels monumental, every path fraught with potential disaster. The legacy he inherited feels less like a birthright and more like a curse. Into this tense atmosphere steps Walter Blackwell, a man whose arrival is almost too perfect. He presents himself as a fellow veteran, scarred by the war, seeking the solace of the Montana landscape. His handshake is firm, his manner courteous, his stories plausible. He offers help, lends an ear, speaks the language of shared sacrifice. Yet there's an unsettling quality beneath the polish. His questions are slightly too pointed, his observations too keen. He lingers, watches, assesses. It becomes chillingly clear that Blackwell didn't just happen upon the Yellowstone. He targeted it. He represents powerful interests, Eastern money sniffing out opportunity in the wartime disruption. He understands the value of the land, not for the life it sustains, but for the resources it holds and the power it represents. His strategy isn't confrontation, it's infiltration. He aims to exploit the Duttons' vulnerabilities, their pride, their financial strain, their growing internal divisions. He's a patient predator, content to let the family weaken itself before he moves in for the kill. While Blackwell subtly weaves his web, the internal fractures within the Dutton clan widen. Old arguments resurface, fueled by the current pressures. Whispers start among the ranch hands, men loyal for years now showing signs of restlessness, weariness. The constant struggle, the sacrifices demanded by the Dutton name begin to outweigh loyalty for some. Talk of selling off small remote parcels just enough to ease the immediate burden begins to circulate. Quiet conversations held just out of John's earshot. These aren't grand betrayals, not yet, but small cracks in the dam, each one weakening the whole structure. John feels these shifts, senses the growing dissent, but admitting the possibility of betrayal from within feels like admitting defeat. He pushes the fear down, knowing that any sign of vulnerability could invite collapse. The silence at the family table grows heavy, thick with unspoken accusations and anxieties. Tradition, duty, and the sheer weight of survival bear down on John, making it hard to breathe. Evelyn watches all of this, her sharp eyes missing nothing. She sees the decay John tries to ignore, recognizes the inadequacy of the old ways in this new fight. Her ambition isn't just for power, but for survival, though her methods diverge sharply from John's. She believes decisive, perhaps even cold action is needed, a path that could save the ranch but fundamentally change what it means to be a Dutton. The tension is palpable, a low hum of controlled chaos that promises violence even without a single gunshot. The Yellowstone still stands, proud against the horizon, but its foundations are being eaten away from within, unseen by those who should be guarding it most closely. The fight is no longer just about land. It's about holding on to the very idea of family. The fragile quiet of the ranch shatters as the second half of 1944 unfolds. Secrets buried under years of stoicism and unspoken grief begin to surface like bodies in a thawing river. The war's true cost becomes terrifyingly apparent, not just in lost profits or absent sons, but in the erosion of trust and the twisting of loyalties. John Dutton feels the ground shifting beneath him. He tries to maintain control, but the family unit is splintering. One relative argues for selling timber rights to cover debts, seeing the war as a grim opportunity. Evelyn continues her discreet discussions with outside interests, framing it as necessary modernization, while John suspects a power play. His deepest fear crystallizes. Someone inside the family circle, someone he trusts, might be feeding information to Blackwell. Thought is poison, turning every interaction into a potential interrogation, every familiar face into a possible mask. The episode masterfully sows seeds of doubt, a sideways glance between hands, a meeting Evelyn attends without explanation, leaving the viewer as paranoid as John. Trust becomes the rarest commodity on the Yellowstone. Amidst this turmoil, Spencer Dutton returns. He is a changed man, the adventurous spirit seen in 1923 extinguished, replaced by the haunted gaze of someone who has seen too much loss both on the battlefields of Africa and in the death of his wife, Alex. To some, he's a broken echo of his former self. To others, particularly John, he represents a past failure and a potential challenge to his authority. Spencer speaks little, but his words carry the weight of his experiences. Bitterness laces his observations, especially regarding the smooth-talking Walter Blackwell, whom he distrusts instantly. He confronts John, accusing him of being blinded by pride, clinging to tradition while ignoring the clear and present danger Blackwell represents. John, wounded and defensive, retaliates, accusing Spencer of abandoning the family, of running when he was needed most. The exchange is brutal, highlighting the chasm between the brothers, two men bound by blood and grief, but separated by unprocessed pain and resentment. Their conflict underscores the deeper war engulfing the Duttons, a battle against themselves. Every old wound, every lingering grievance is now weaponized in the fight for the ranch's future. Even Margaret, John's wife, typically the family's calm center, feels the strain. The constant tension, the sacrifices, the heavy silence, it all starts to weigh on her. We see her questioning the cost of this legacy, wondering if the land is worth the slow destruction of the people she loves. Alone, perhaps reading a letter detailing another wartime loss suffered by a friend, her quiet despair reveals the emotional core of the struggle. It's not just about land barons and legal battles. It's about the human toll of relentless struggle, the erosion of the soul. Outside the ranch house, Blackwell tightens his grip. He meets with county commissioners, secures lines of credit with regional banks, and quietly buys up adjacent properties, strategically boxing the Duttons in. He uses the war economy as leverage, offering predatory loans disguised as assistance, sowing discord among neighbors. He understands that breaking the Duttons requires isolating them first. The horrifying realization dawns: the Duttons are losing control of their finances, their future, and perhaps most critically, of each other. The storm is no longer gathering, it has broken upon them, and the decisions made now, clouded by fear and suspicion, will determine if the Yellowstone legacy endures or is swept away. The simmering tension finally boils over. Secrets explode into the open, alliances shift like Montana winds, and the line between protector and betrayer grows dangerously thin. The proof isn't dramatic, just a discrepancy found buried in an old ranch ledger, a minor land deed, subtly altered. It confirms his dread. Small, seemingly insignificant parcels of Yellowstone land are being sold off piecemeal, funneled through anonymous buyers, a slow, methodical bleeding orchestrated from within. The betrayal isn't looming, it's actively undermining him. But who? His gaze falls on Evelyn, whose ambition now seems less like foresight and more like opportunism. Her independent dealings with businessmen, meetings held without his knowledge, paint a picture of someone positioning herself to take control, reshaping the Yellowstone in her own image under the guise of adaptation. Or could it be closer, someone seemingly loyal, like a long-serving foreman weary of the struggle, or even Spencer? Spencer's haunted demeanor and detached observations could mask a deeper resentment, a waiting game. Though seemingly broken by his past, there's an unnerving stillness about him, the watchfulness of a predator, not prey. Paranoia becomes palpable, infecting every interaction. Family dinners feel like strategic battlegrounds. Polite greetings carry hidden barbs. The real danger in 1944 isn't a gunfight, it's the poison pleasantries, the deals struck over coffee, the betrayals delivered with a handshake. Sensing the growing discord, Walter Blackwell drops his facade. He approaches John directly, not with threats, but with a seemingly generous offer, a complete buyout. Enough money to settle all debts, ensure comfort, end the fight. It's a temptation, a lifeline. John refuses without hesitation, his rejection a declaration of war. Blackwell simply smiles, shakes John's hand, and delivers the chillingly calm promise, "I'll wait." The implication is terrifyingly clear. He doesn't need to fight John. He just needs to wait for the Duttons to destroy themselves from within. Wait for the betrayal to hand him the prize. His patience is his ultimate weapon. Back within the fractured family, Margaret reaches her limit. She confronts John, not with anger, but with weary desperation. She accuses him of sacrificing their family on the altar of the land, of forgetting how to protect each other in his obsession with protecting dirt. She speaks of leaving, of taking the children away from the suffocating weight of the ranch to find peace. John hears her, perhaps even understands, but he cannot yield. For him, the land is inextricably linked to his identity, his duty, the promise made to those who came before. Letting go isn't just losing property, it's losing himself. This intractable bond is the heart of the tragedy. His fight to save the Yellowstone is also a fight against his own potential erasure. Even Spencer is pulled violently back into the fold. A confrontation erupts between him and a ranch hand caught passing information to Blackwell's associates. The encounter turns physical, forcing Spencer to act. The instinct is still there. The broken hunter still knows how to fight. In that flash of violence, a flicker of the old Spencer returns, proving that while wounded, he's far from defeated. It's a brutal wake-up call. While they scanned the skies for external threats, the real decay was happening under their feet. The episode drives home that collapse isn't always a single catastrophic event, but often a slow accumulation of compromises, ignored warnings, and festering resentments. The climax of this section arrives quietly but devastatingly, the discovery of a farewell letter. Penned by a trusted family member or loyal hand, it's a resignation not just from the ranch, but from the Dutton fight itself, an admission that the burden is too great, the internal conflict too toxic. As John reads the words, his face crumples, revealing the true battlefield lies within their own hearts, even as the enemy gathers outside the gates. The stage is set for a final desperate